Data management with Excel. In this video I'm going to show you how to match cell. I'm going to show you how, as in what borrowing of cell means. I'm going to show you how to calculate using your formula. I'm going to show you how to expand each of the cell width. I'm going to show you how to add a new column or add a new row to your spreadsheet. For example, if I want to create a record for my superstore, let's say I name my superstore Hayo and Hayo superstore, and what you can see here is that Hayo and Hayo superstore is written from A1 into cell C1. Now the question is this: is it really written in cell C1? No. If I click on cell B1, you can see in the formula bar there's nothing written there. If I click on cell C1, in the formula bar there's nothing written here. But if I click on cell A1, you can see the entire text written in cell A1, which is spanning up to cell C1, written inside this formula bar of A1. Now that is to tell you that A1 is borrowing cell B and borrowing of, as in is borrowing cell C, as in cell C1 and cell B1. Now does that mean that B1 can no longer use his own cell? No, it can use his own cell if he wants to use his cell. If B1 wants to use his own cell, all B1 needs to do is click on B1 and type in whatever you want to type there. Now what you now observe is that everything that is written in cell A1 is confined into cell A1. It's no longer spanning up to cell C again because B is now using its own cell. If I cut this particular word away from B1 and I put it in cell C1, for example, you can see it is now borrowing B, but it's not able to use C. If I cut it away from C and I put it into D, for example, you can see it is borrowing up to C. Now that's the highest it can borrow because of the font size. For example, if I increase the font size from 10 to, let's say, 22, you can see it's borrowing up to F in this case. So you can borrow as many cells as you want to borrow, as long as the cell whom we are borrowing from does not require its own cell. If the cell you're borrowing from does not need its own cell, then you can borrow as many cells as you want to borrow. Now for your title, I always recommend your title to be bold so as to put an emphasis on the title. Now for this management of data, we want to keep some record on as in for our superstore. I'm going to create a category section. I'm going to put in the quantity. To go into the next cell, you can use your tab key, or you can click on the cell, anyone you think it's easy for you to use. Then I'm going to write in the cost price, the selling price, then I'm going to write profits. Now while I was writing this, I remember after my category I'm supposed to have an item. Now what can I do to put an item in this cell B? Now I can actually right click here and click on insert. Now I'm going to insert an entire column. Watch this. So if I click here and I insert, it will insert a column towards the left. If I click here, it will insert a column towards the left. If I click here, it will insert a column towards the left. Now I just inserted a column because I want to put an item on my headings. So items, quantity, cost price, selling price, and profit. Now this is what I want for my heading. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to type in the categories. I'm going to type in 1, 2, 3. I'm going to type in different categories. Now as you can see, I have 5 different categories. I'm going to put in the items in my category. I'm going to put in the quantity. I'm going to put in the cost price, the selling price, and the profits. Now to put that in, I'm going to start typing the items. I'm going to be using my down arrow on my keyboard or my mouse to click on the cell I want to move to. Down arrow will move to the down cell, left arrow will move to the left cell, right arrow will move to the right cell, up arrow will move to the up cell. So I'm going to type in So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill all these items with all the items I require. While I was typing my items, I actually ran out of option on perfumes, and just discovered that this cell is actually not useful. So what I'm going to do to this cell is I'm going to delete this entire row. This is a row, not a column. So I'm going to delete this entire row by clicking on this cell here, which is in that same row 19. I'm going to right click on it, right click, then I'm going to click on delete. So I'm going to say entire row. So it's going to delete that entire row 19, which now collapse my own row 20 back into row 19. It doesn't skip any number, it doesn't skip any alphabet. So deleting that row, it deleted the row and moved my row 20 into row 19. So you can insert a row, you can delete a row, you can insert a column, you can delete a column using insert or delete. Now I'll be able to type in my items. I want to type in the quantity, I'm going to type in the cost price, I'm going to type in the selling price. Now I actually type in my cost price, my quantity, this is my quantity, my cost price, my selling price, everything is typed in. Now there are some that actually puts 1749.99. That's actually 1750 anyway. I just want to actually use this particular format as well as using this particular format. So it depends on the format you want to use in your record keeping. Now what I want to do now is, if you look at it very well, there like this white lotion is actually not showing very well. Dark and lovely is not showing very well. So all I need to do is to expand my cell. If you look at the way the number is 10 points, if you look at the width above, as I once you click, you see the width showing around this area. This is that width showing 10.86. If I move it again, 11 point whatever. So if you begin to move, it begins to show you the size of the width. So what I like doing is I like moving my cell equally. So sometimes I might just prefer to put all my cell in 12.0, so my cell will be evenly spaced. But for this, I'm just going to make an exemption for now, but I will also ensure that everything actually is visible. So next I'm going to do is, if you look at this now, this is not properly arranged. This is not properly arranged. I want to put everything to the center. I'm going to highlight everything here, then put them at the center. So everything will be at the center. As you can see, this looks more neatly arranged than when it was just scattered. So next I want to do now is I want to calculate. Now before I calculate my answers here, I want to make this an heading. So I'm going to make this bold because an heading. I can decide to change the font color to any color I choose. It's my choice. Now next I want to do is, since this cell, I'm spanning up to cell F, I can decide to increase my font size, alright, so as to be able to fit into that particular cell, or I can just decide to reduce the font size. I put it in the middle. Whatever I want to do is my choice. Nobody's going to hold me responsible for how big this particular heading is or my title is. Now the most important thing is that we have the category, and then we have the name of the superstore, then we have the items, we have the quantity. Now the next I want to do is to show you how to calculate. I'm going to show you how to use absolute reference to make your calculation faster. We know that 600 minus 550 is going to give us 50. I'm not going to type 50 here, rather I'm going to use a formula. I'm going to use a formula which will enhance which will make my my other cell calculation to be faster. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to write this formula. The formula is equal sum, open parenthesis, which is open your bracket. Now this cell is column E, row 3, so I'm going to write E3. You see that automatically selected E3. Then I say minus this cell here is D3, so I'll just say D3. Automatically it selected cell D3. You see that now. Now I'll close my bracket. Now if I hit my enter key, you see that gives me 50. But if I click on the cell, it gives me the formula. If I look outside the cell, it's giving me 50, but if I click on the cell, it's giving me the formula. Now this dot here is used for absolute reference. So instead of me saying 650 minus this 50, this minus this 50, this minus this 20, I'll just use this button. If you look at my mouse, this is my cursor in a cross sign, a white cross, but if I move it, it changes into a black cross. So I can actually use this to drag down, doing an absolute reference. It will automatically calculate all the answers. If I click here, you see that this gives me E6 minus D6. The original formula I wrote was just E3 minus D3, but this E6 minus D6, this E12 minus D12, this E15 minus D15. Now it's going to use the formula you have in this cell. It's going to copy the formula to the entire cell, now making it faster for you to calculate anything you want to calculate. If I change this, look at this, for example, this is 30. If I change the cost price to 100, for example, look at this now, this will change to 50. Do you see that now? It changes to 50. If I change it back to 120, it will change back to 30. Do you see that now? So if you alter anything here, it will as well affect the answer. That's one nice thing about using the formula to actually calculate. Now the next thing I want to do is to match this cell. If you look at this category, for example, I have beverages, but this entire section is actually covering beverages. This entire section here is covering drinks. This entire section here is covering cosmetics. This entire section here is covering perfume. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to match all these cells to make it to be a single cell. To match this cell, I'm going to go to format menu, then I'm going to go to cell, then under cell I'm going to go to alignment tab, then I'll click on horizontal. I'll make my horizontal to be center, my vertical alignment to be center, then I'll click on match cell. So to make my horizontal, which is horizontally, it will be center, vertically to be center, then I'll match the cell. That's why you have it at the center. Horizontal and vertical, they are both at the center. I'll do the same thing for this cell as well. Format cell, alignment, center, match cell. I'll do the same thing for this as well. Now this makes it easy for anybody who is reading to understand that that is a category for any of the sections you put, because everything is as in the category now is now saying, okay, this is a category for this is a category for this. Now another thing you can do is that you can decide to put a borderline. This is a borderline here. I can decide to put any of the borderline. I can say top and bottom border is my choice, so as to separate each of the categories. Do you see that now? So anybody who want to look at it will be able to say, okay, this is beverages, this is drinks, and this is cosmetics, this is perfumes, this is toiletries. You can at the same time decide to put another border here, which is a right border, so as to more like ruling your page. It's your choice. If you don't want to put the border, your spreadsheet looks as if it has a border, but really if I print preview, you do not see any border apart from this line I put there. You do not see any border. Now I'm going to talk about that later in the preview, in the next video. Now another thing I need to show you is that if you look at this line here, this line tells me that that's where one page stops. If I reduce my zoom to 75%, this tells you this is one page. This is one page, this is another page, this is another page. So in case you're actually working out of this line, you know you're actually going into two pages. So this is the section of one page. I have been able to show you how to adjust your cell using this margin here to adjust the width of your cell. I've been able to show you how to match your cell. I'll be able to show you how to format your cell, as in using format color, font color, or making it bold and putting them to center. I'll be able to show you how to use your formula and how to use absolute reference to actually calculate every other thing in your cell. I actually told you that if you make any changes to any of the figure you have here, it will affect your answer. At the same time, I'll be able to show you how to ensure that your heading is in the same line with everything you're writing. I hope this video has been informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.